Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Oh, it's already 2 o'clock. Welcome. I'm Stacy Hoyt, CSEP, and I am joined today by Elise Luddy. I am here in Austin, Texas, and Elise is joining us from Michigan.
Yes.
Elise is on my committee, so she's going to help me today go through this. We're calling it CSEP 101. We want to make sure, a lot of this information is already available on the website, but we thought we would step through it, maybe add a little bit of extra detail, and also be here to answer questions because we know folks have questions. My role is I am on the Board of Governors, newly appointed to the Board of Governors and then just elected now for a 3-year term. And my focus on the Board of Governors for ILEA is CSEP. So that is, I am the liaison between the CSEP program and the Board of Governors. So our strategy, our initiatives, are all things that I am guiding. And Elise is new on the CSEP committee this year. She's a relatively new CSEP, which is one of the reasons that she's super valuable to the committee, is because
And to you guys.
Yes, and to you. She took the new test. And so she has that firsthand experience. And she's also just a really great committee member. She's been super helpful this year.
Thanks, Stacy.
We want to encourage interaction. So my first question, and you can drop it in the chat, is where are you from? What part of the world are you joining us from? We're curious about the different regions. Do we have anybody international? Anybody from Canada? So feel free to drop that into the chat. And also maybe even connecting people who are close to each other that may not even know each other yet.
I was going to say Krista and Johnny are both from Maryland, so
yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. My second question to everyone, and you may not have the answer to this quite yet, but I'm curious as to like where you are in your CSEP timeline. Are you just checking it out, and like super early in the process, or have you already joined the pipeline? So let us know in the chat where you're at. I see that Celia has just joined us, and Celia is our incoming ILEA International President. She's originally from Sweden, but she lives all over the world. And I know that her timeline is that she's going to be doing it sometime in this calendar year. And I've heard Celia say out loud that she's going to take the test and get her CSEP this year. So sometimes saying it out loud.
Hi, everyone. I'm so sorry. I'm not in my normal business attire. I'm in a very humid Texas at the moment and trying to.
Yay!
Yes,
I know exactly where you are.
You know exactly where I am. I'm in Galveston. But you're absolutely right, Stacey. It's nice to meet everyone. And I am 100% committed to take my CSCP at some point this year, which I will probably commence at some point later in 2025. So yeah, I will keep you all posted, but that's my commitment here. So if anyone wants to join me at the same time, I'm happy to become study buddies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're gonna talk about that later too, Cecilia.
yeah.
So yeah.
That's another reason that the timeline, knowing your timeline is important, because if you need somebody as a study buddy, you might be able to find someone on this webinar.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so feel free to connect directly and independently if there's somebody in here that is also in the pipeline and is ready to start studying. So let's oh, and before I go any further, I want to make sure that I say that we are it is CSE or certification month um, in May. So we do tend to focus on CSEP during the month of May. And one of the features of certification month is we have a discount. So if you sign up to be a CSEP and get in that pipeline before the end of the month, before May 31st, using the code, and I just dropped it in the chat, new May CERT, you get $100 off. So that I think is so if you are like ready to go, then now is a really good time to do that.
And you only have 90 days once your application is approved to do the test, just so you guys know.
Yeah, so let's start going through this. Like we're gonna start as we often do, big picture. What is CSEP? The former ISIS, now ILEA, established in 1993, recognizing event professionals who have demonstrated knowledge, skills, and ability essential to perform all components of a special event. And I think that's really important. We recognize not just our lens that we look at things through, but we have a more holistic view of what goes into the planning and implementation of events. So it's managed by ILEA, which you probably know, and it's a voluntary program specifically for the people who meet those standards. The benefits of the certification, it helps to establish credibility. You get to belong to this elite network, and we hope to continue to have perks associated with that. You are motivated as you move through your career to give back to the industry, which is something that I find very rewarding. Demonstrating your achievement, and it can also help to accelerate your professional development. So those are the benefits. What do you need in order to qualify? Well, the most simplest thing is at least 5 years of proven full-time practical experience in events. And so, and there are a lot of us that maybe have taken that at that point, at that 5-year point, perhaps we were not quite ready yet. Didn't feel we were quite ready yet. I think that there comes a time when you just kind of feel like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to prove myself. If you think you're ready and you're not 5 years into full-time industry involvement, there's a path for you, but it's a harder path. It's a steeper hill to climb. We need to see your resume, and we need a letter from your employer, and you need to either have some kind of a degree that you can show us and a transcript, and also a letter of recommendation from someone who is a CSEP and understands what being a CSEP is. that is saying, yes, this person, despite the fact that they're less than 5 years, is ready for this. So those are the paths. Any questions about that?
Any questions in general?
All right.
Okay.
I'm just curious.
Yes.
So can you define what proven looks like? And I'll phrase it this way. So
Yes.
I've been in the event industry for over 20 years, but most of that time I've been an entrepreneur. So I'm always curious because it's like, buying a home when you work for yourself, right? They need all this documentation about how much money you make, this or that. So I'm just curious because I think I've been mildly afraid to pursue this, although this year I'm saying we're going to make this happen because I come from that space. I don't come from a corporate space. Now, I've had clients that I've worked with for years, and
Mhm.
even my current client that I'm doing 9+ events for a year. One of them being I just closed out a huge national event for almost 1,000 people in New Orleans. So I know how to do my job, right? But what
Yes.
does it look like to show you that I didn't wake up yesterday deciding I want to be a party planner, which is a horrible term, or an event planner, that I am a national event manager and I have been doing nationwide events throughout my career? How do I submit properly, I guess, to show that, those credentials or that experience? Because that's
Yes.
the scary part for me, if I'm being transparent.
Yeah. So if you've been doing this for 20 years, I don't have any doubts about, your qualifications
I don't either. Yeah.
so I would say, like, in terms of the application, if you say that you've had an event planning company that you've been running for 20 years,
Hmm.
uh, then you don't have anything to worry about.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I think
I
the
was gonna say, like,
part
on
is
my,
like, well, you have ebbs and flows as a business owner, and then,
Yeah.
yeah,
um, COVID almost killed all of us. You know what I mean? It's like, so you almost
yeah,
felt like post-pandemic, you almost started over because I was considering
Yeah.
closing the business. So that's why I was like, is this a good time? Do I need to wait? Because,
Yeah.
things were slow or non-existent. And do things before COVID count? Like, I guess,
Yes.
that's kind of where I'm
yes.
coming
Oh
from.
yeah, your whole experience counts. So type everything into your application, put in all of your job, like the whole job description. Like for me, I didn't really have a full-time job in events until probably 15 years ago. And when I first applied for this, it still counted. So whatever you've got, put it on there. If you
Yeah.
did something like on the side, yeah, put it on there. And that goes for all of you guys. Put everything that you've done event wise. It's good. We just want to see that you've had, at least 5 years of that, practical experience. So
Yeah.
Thank you. That helps. I appreciate it.
you're welcome. Yeah.
Anything else before we move on? Okay. I'm gonna let Elise take over.
So application process. You guys all know aliyahhub.com, right? If you don't, that is our website. Can you pull that up, Stacy, since you're sharing?
Yeah.
Um, Unfortunately, Stacy and I can't show you what the back end of it looks like because we're already CSEPs and we already have all this stuff, but I'll walk you through at least the front part of it. Um, so if you go to aliyahhub.com, there is a menu at the top that says CSEP. Go to that on the other screen.
Can you see that? Yeah.
Yep, and we're on your vertical. So
Oh, okay. Sorry.
that's okay. Actually, it might be better because then we can see down.
Okay.
Can you guys see everything? Is everything okay? Okay. So if you actually click on certify yourself, Maybe. Nope, that doesn't work. Interesting.
Oh, my windows are in the way. Overview.
Yeah, go to the overview. This is kind of what we've already been kind of talking about, all the stuff that, why CSEP isn't so important. We didn't say it at the top, but we're about 300 strong right now, which is pretty amazing considering there's what, 7.5 billion people in the world right now. 300 people. It's pretty cool certification, if you ask me. My opinion. But then if you go to how to apply, we lay it all out for you guys. Make an account on Aaliyah Hub. Complete and purchase the CSEP application. Wait for your approval. It's about 5 to 10 days. I think mine was less than that. I want to say mine was maybe 2 or 3. You'll get an email that says you can schedule your exam and then schedule your exam. That is totally 100% either online or you can go in person. Can you still go in person, Stacy? I think so.
I don't know.
I don't know either. We should have asked that question. Sorry, guys. But then you schedule your exam. It's online proctoring. It's a little nerve-wracking. You find out once you take the test, it's like 2 minutes after you hit submit, and you find out if you passed. And it's pretty fast. But yeah, so application fee is $350. Exam fee is also $350. If you do your application before the end of May, using new May cert, it'll only be $250. You only have 90 days after that fact to schedule your exam. Any questions about application process? Okay, next slide. So the exam itself, and this is one thing. Tracy, do you have a question?
No. Right.
That's okay. So the CSEP exam, it is 115 multiple choice, all multiple choice. They're in like story problems. So you have, I think it's like 5 to 11 questions for one story or one event or one,
So it's like an event scenario.
yes, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Event scenario. So I'll give you an example. On one of mine, it was about a Olympic style event, and there were questions about risk management. There were questions about like what would happen if something like a pandemic happened? What would you do with all of that stuff? So it was about 7 questions on that. I answered all those questions, and it was all pertaining to that one scenario. You have 150 minutes to complete the exam. You can go back to any question. You can flag any question, but you only have 150 minutes. Once you hit submit, that's all you get. You get about 2 minutes later, it'll tell you whether or not you've passed or not. And then it will, if you don't pass, it'll say to you which questions you missed. And it'll tell you which questions you missed. And don't be disheartened by that. It happens to the best of us. Just know that you did your best. So, any questions about the exam itself?
My one question would be if for some reason you don't pass the test,
Yeah,
um, is there a waiting period before you could take it again, or how does that work?
waiting period. Yeah,
Yes.
30 days.
Yeah, you do have to wait. I think it is 30 days before you can retest. And you do have to pay the testing fee again.
Yeah.
But I will say that if you were to not pass the test the first time, you would not be alone. There are
Mm-mm.
people I talk to all the time, and I'm going to even admit that it applies to me, myself. I took the test 2 times. It was a different test, and I blamed my I think I didn't pass the previous version of the test because I did very poor time management because I didn't understand sort of how the test was laid out, which isn't really applicable now. But I took it twice. I'm not going to lie. So there's no shame in that.
Mm-mm.
And, you know, if the idea, I'm just going to move to the next slide.
Yeah.
If you are able to hone in on your weak areas, because let's face it, like those of us who do events, we have our lane. There's a lot of different ways, you know, different parts of event planning. And the part that we do all the time, we know. But there may
Mhm.
be other parts that we don't know. And the idea is this is an opportunity for us to build that well-rounded knowledge.
Yeah.
So if you are able to, can you pull up the blueprint,
Yeah.
Elise?
Yeah.
Um, the exam blueprint is a document that CSEP volunteer committee members worked very, very hard on to distill event planning down into one document with different uh, with different domains is what we call them. So this blueprint, which you can get to from the uh,
Okay.
the website, the hub.
Yep.
Yeah, from the prepare section of CSEP. If you click on exam blueprint, it takes you to this document, which really distills and aligns with the test, right? So domain one is strategic strategy, right? So maybe you work for a catering company and you're not that involved in strategy. This might be a good area for you to focus on. Um, and so what I recommend is to look through this and narrow down what areas you think you need to focus on. And that's where you put your study energy. And you can do that in a couple different ways. One area that works well for a lot of people is putting together a study group. And what works especially well is if you are from one aspect of event planning and you bring in people that are in different aspects of event planning to the table and you have these discussions and you focus your discussions around this content outline, that is a really great way to um, to tease out the other perspectives, right? So if you're thinking about like you're having a general session in a ballroom, you know, if you're the caterer, you're focused on very specific things. If you're the AV company, you're focusing on different things. If you're the florist, same thing, you know, hotel operations. But if you have all your folks sitting around a table and talking through the different domains, then you get those perspectives and they can come up with examples of times when they were in a situation where they had to go back to the contract to settle something, or there was an issue with a timeline and maybe the planner changed things, but they didn't think about how the ramifications of all of, you know, like if you decide, oh, we're gonna switch the timeline, what does that mean to everybody else? A really good planner understands what the ramifications are. Whereas someone who's just focused on their one area may not realize that, oh, you can't like not bring everybody into dinner right now because the plating train has already started. And we need to get those people in, whether you think we're ready or not. We need to get them in, or their dinner's not going to be at the right temperature. So uh, for example, when we were in Galveston last week doing our ILEA board leadership training, we had the day before, I came in early and we sat down with printouts of the content outline and we went through it and we talked about all the different domains, and everybody had really interesting examples. And it was fascinating to me because, I already have my CSEP, and I am an instructor at Austin Community College and I teach event planning. But there were some examples that I thought, I am so glad that I kind of know that that could happen. So it's very valuable, even if you don't sit for your CSEP, it's really valuable to get those other perspectives and come up with a more holistic understanding of events. That's what we're trying to test for, and that's what we're trying to achieve with this certification. You can also hone in on areas that you may have not been as strong in by figuring out training sessions. You can learn about virtual events on LinkedIn Learning. You can go to, the ILEA website and watch maybe or the ILEA YouTube page and watch a video about risk management. Once you've narrowed down where you think you may not be as strong, you can figure out other resources that can help to build your knowledge in your weak areas. And then lastly, we have on the ILEA Hub site, we have some recommended textbooks that I would like to share that page with everyone. And
It's in the chat.
great. What I will say is that the CMP, as a comparison, and I have my CMP designation as well. The CMP has a textbook, and
Yes.
it is, I believe it's called Professional Meeting Management. All of the questions on the CMP exam come from that textbook. And we can't see it because of your background thing.
Blur. Yeah, I have it right here because I planned on taking it too, but yeah.
So if you want a designation that you're going to be able to study for out of one single textbook, the CMP is great for that. You
Yes.
memorize formulas for trade show, how much square footage you need for trade show, how many appetizers you need for
Coffee.
a reception. So if you're good at memorizing things and regurgitating them on a test, that's a really good thing. The CSEP is not that. The
No.
CSEP is looking for, again, well-rounded professionals.
And what
so,
you know as a person, as an event professional.
right.
It is not you're going to regurgitate from the book itself and say, okay, here's how this goes. No.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that, I try to tell everybody, because I've taken the new test, it is event scenarios. Like, you really have to know like what you're doing at an event. I mean, it's not just, okay, I need, 2 urns of coffee for 50 people. That's not right. But you know what I mean? It's that kind
Yeah.
of like, we're not asking those types of questions, guys. We're asking, like, do you have the knowledge to say, okay, look at the big picture, but still have the logistics and the small stuff in mind about how you, do an event. So yeah.
And it does, like, we recognize that makes it difficult.
We do.
But, I would say from the strategy perspective, Dr. Joe Goldblatt is an event luminary. He's one of the founders of ILEA. He has a book that was co-authored that is very, very timely. It's called Brave.
Special events, the Brave New World for bolder and better live events.
Yes. So that if you're going to look at one book, that's the one book that I recommend. That's the book that I
Me too.
teach. What?
I said that, me too. That's
Oh,
the book I
okay.
recommend.
Yeah, that is the book I use as my textbook for my special event design class that I teach. And it has a lot about new technology, which is really important to understand. Uh, Sustainability is covered in the test. So if you don't know a lot about sustainability as it relates to events, that it's a really good reference. It was published in 2020. It even alludes a little bit to the pandemic, although it didn't when it was published, it hadn't been resolved yet, which I find interesting. Eighth
Yes.
edition is the latest. Yes. Elise, can you drop that into
Yeah.
the chat, please?
Yep. Yep.
Yes.
You guys can also click on the link above where it's the Aaliyah Hub Prepare. All of the books that we're going to be talking about are on that list as well. But I will pop it in the chat for you guys to this specific book.
Yes. If you're weak in AV and production, the books I recommend are the Doug Matthews books. There's two of them. And like there's enough covered in there that after you read them, you could probably be an technical event producer. Like they're very deep. But you don't have to read every little part, and you don't
No.
like you can just skim through it and think, oh, event lighting. I don't really know that much about that. Oh, here's a page that has what all the different fixtures do, or here's something that's about how you do like support with trussing. So that is a really good reference specifically for technical production. I would also encourage you to check your local library, right?
Yeah.
Like someone told me that she put all these books in her Amazon cart and it was like $700. Like, please don't spend $700
Yeah.
on textbooks. Maybe you can borrow them from the library. Maybe you can borrow them from someone in your community. I definitely would focus on the ones in the highly recommended section. The dictionary of event management. As far as term, like you're not going to get questions on the test that's like the definition
Mhm.
of this is this, or this. But there are questions written that if you don't understand what something is, what some terminology is, you're not going to be able to answer the question. So terminology is really important. And the both the Wiley Dictionary, International Dictionary of Event Management, which is a paperback that you can like put in your bag and thumb through it when you have downtime, is good. And also there's an excellent online resource, which is the Apex Industry Glossary. That's available on the internet. So you can just click around in there and look. It used to be that you could sort it by like category, which is something that I did when I was trying to develop my skills in like tenting, for example. And it doesn't do that anymore. But you can just scroll through there and look for words that are not something that you're familiar with. There's also, like flashcard apps that you can use to prep for a test if you have a list of words that you're trying to learn. There's a lot of great like strategies. Check in the chat. Any other questions? And feel free to turn your mic on and just ask.
I was going to say the other resources, go out to the other event organizations that are out there, PCMA, MPI. They all have lovely webinars that are out there that are free that you guys can, if you look for something very specific, that you can learn about in an hour. And you can get CEUs off of it, which we're gonna need, because we're gonna talk about recertification next, and you need those. So
Yes. So let's just pause here for questions because
yeah,
I feel like taking the exam is like the biggest kind of mystery for folks.
yeah, we
Anyone have
just
any
threw a
other?
lot of information at you guys. Nothing? Come on, guys. We won't bite, I promise.
I'll talk. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so I feel like I've been around long enough that when we started having these discussions of really how to professionalize our profession and having these tests, because obviously CMP has been around longer than um,
Hmm.
CSEP. But I think for me, I was more drawn to CSEP because they had the production aspect. I do a lot more special events. At one point, I was the outdoor queen, so I knew how to, get all of the permits, and I didn't feel like any of that stuff is covered in the CMP, right? Those
Right.
types of events. It felt more corporate, association meeting driven,
Yeah.
which is important because I still do those types of events, but I'm like, I'm over here putting on a concert. I need, information
Yes.
about how to do that effectively. Um, but I guess I feel like, why don't we have a book? Like, why is it not more formalized? It feels like all over the place, and a lot of us are doing special event work, not
Yeah.
just meeting
Yes.
work.
I
So
I hear
completely,
you. Like there's a part of me that I want to just write the book, right? I want to like
Yes.
say this is the CSEP manual. Um, we just don't have that. And we are experimenting, like one of our association planners that ILEA has at HQ. She's like, why can't you just take the CSEP blueprint and throw it into Chat GPT and come up with a study guide? And I was like, I don't know. Like maybe we can. Like maybe that would work. I don't know. Like I want to have better study materials. I really like that's a goal of mine. Um, but we're not quite there yet. Uh,
Can I play devil's advocate really quick? Because I just took the test, Darius. For me, it's the event industry moves so fast, right? We change so often. Like stuff that we did in 2018 doesn't really exist anymore. Like we don't do that same kind of stuff. I totally get what you're saying. And yes, was I super nervous about the fact that I didn't really have a study guide to work off of? I think you have to internalize in yourself, and this goes for all of you guys. You have to internalize in yourself that you know everything that's on that exam blueprint, or at least some knowledge of it, because that's really what we're testing on. We're not testing on, you know, a book that is, this is the question and this is the answer. It's not that type of test at all. It's not, you're not spitting anything out. So we could do something better. Yes, I agree. And Stacy, we have talked about that and we will continue to talk about it. But I don't think that, it's not going to be like the CMP where I can hand you a book and here you go.
right.
yeah,
You know,
the blueprint is supposed to be the guide.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
I guess I'm leaning toward because like being nosy and looking up some people on LinkedIn. Johnny Penn, I'm gonna call you out. He has a CMP and a DES, and clearly he's interested in getting a CSEP. What is the weight of this CSEP? Because I want to leverage it for future professional career endeavors. And does the market understand what it is? Because when you look at these job descriptions, they love to throw out, "Do you have a CMP?" Like I don't even know if they even know what it means, but they love to throw that out, right?
They
And I
do.
don't see the SCP a lot. And I'm like, and so sometimes they'll say CMP or something equivalent, but it's like, do you understand what the equivalent is? Like we
yeah,
do, because it's our industry, right?
right.
So I don't I don't want to take multiple tests. Go, Johnny. You did it, boo. You did it. I don't want to do that. I want something that says I am an expert in this field and I have a designation to prove it, like an MBA or
Yeah.
JD, because that's how I felt like our industry was saying. We were going to create these designations that were weighted like a CPA, like any other highly professionalized industry. So
Yeah.
are we getting that?
You know,
I mean, I don't want to
I,
stress myself out. I want it because I want to be more well-rounded or have more proof of my experience in the industry, but I want
yeah.
to know that it's respected in the marketplace.
Yes, we want that too, right?
Yeah.
Like so, you know, we're all volunteers and we're, you know, I want to say like we're small, but we're mighty. And
Yes.
the more we talk about it, the more we say, you know, this education is CSEP certified. You know, we have our work cut out for us to market this credential. You know,
Yes.
I can say that I believe in this credential. Obviously, I'm like all in. Uh, and I think that like the 300 of us
Yeah.
have it, really
Yeah.
believe in it and believe that it is the best way for us to articulate that we stand apart from the party planners.
Right.
Okay.
And I'll give you a prime example. I'm interviewing right now for a new job, and I just actually said it an hour ago. You know, somebody asked me, you know, why are you qualified for this position? And I said, well, you know, I have 20 years of experience behind me, and I'm also certified in special events. And she said, oh, what does that mean? And I said, well, I have credentials after my name. I am a certified special events professional. She knows nothing about the event industry. She's like, oh my God, that's so cool. So like Stacy was just saying, we are small but mighty. Us talking about it, you guys taking the test and getting the certification helps get our certification out there to showcase more that we are certified in what we do.
Yeah. And you know, in the small circles of ILEA, of course, like
Yeah.
we're in that bubble. But I am always surprised at the number of folks on the CSEP roster that are not ILEA members. They're off the
Mm-hmm.
radar, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just wanted to be able to demonstrate their level of professionalism out to the community. I have seen CSCP or CMP on job postings.
Me too. Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that we will begin to see that more and more as we go. But your concerns are valid. I mean, I think that that's an excellent question, and I take it really seriously. And what I will tell you is that I really believe that this is the right certification. Um, uh, and I hope that you will too. I hope that you will, you know, taking the test and passing the test, it was a very, very proud moment. Um,
Super proud. I'm
and
super
because it's not an easy test.
mm-mm.
It really makes you think. And
Mm-hmm.
also, even if you think about like if you are seriously preparing for the test, think about how much smarter you are by the time you take the test. And that's something to be really proud of too. Um, you know,
Yeah. Any
Denise.
questions about the test, Denise?
I know this is probably you're going to say, well, it really depends on the person, but what do you think is a good time frame? I know you have 90 days from the time that you apply and you get your approval. What do you think is a good time frame to prepare yourself to sit for the exam?
I
I
think
think
that maybe depends on like the level of community support that you have. You
yeah.
know, like if I were going to say, okay, I'm going to take advantage of this $100 off and I'm going to do it now, you know, I might also be working behind the scenes to figure out like what's my study plan? You know, like who are my study buddies and what is the cadence? You know, I did a 4-hour session on Monday. That's not a very practical approach. Uh, so maybe thinking about like there's 5 different domains, maybe we do an hour on each one, and maybe we do it every week. And then like also thinking about like your annual cadence. Like I know I'm usually really slow in the summer, so it would make a lot of sense for me to pull the trigger. And then I think that's what I did with the CMP is I remember one summer I was just in that textbook all summer long, trying to get ready for that. So you could start your studying now and have like a regular study session, virtual or in person. And then, when you got to a certain point in it, pull the trigger so that like the remaining cadence would align with when you would need to take the test within 90 days. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Do you think 90 days is doable if you are in your slower? Because I work in higher education, so the summer is my slow time.
Yes.
And I have
I would
to.
say yes.
Okay, great.
Because I was actually gonna piggyback off her. I did mine in like 3 to 6 months. So
Great.
I think I started kind of studying in like September, October, even though that was actually my really busy time at my job. And then I took the test in February. So it was kind of that whole, slow time for me because of the holidays and the beginning of the year. So it was about 3 to 6 months is what I would say. Um, just do it. I mean, honestly, it's just like, just do it.
Okay,
Because
thank you.
if you like hold yourself out, you're just gonna like, go and go, oh my God, wait, it's too much. No, just schedule it and go for it. That's what I
Okay,
did.
great. Thank you.
You're
Right. I mean,
welcome.
that is part of the reason that there is a short window is
Yeah,
that if we give you too much time, then you're not going to be focused and like really making sure that you're ready to do
yeah,
it in the
yeah,
same way. I think
yep,
it's the perfect time, but
yep.
it's not the same for everyone. Any other questions about the exam? We had just
So
one. Oh,
I
sorry.
was gonna say we're gonna cover recertification and maintaining your credential really, really quick. I know we're almost done. We have 12 minutes left, but I just want to cover it real quick so that you guys know what you have to do kind of after the fact of you having to maintain your credential and you
Yeah.
pass the test.
It's
So
it's it's important to understand.
yeah,
Uh,
it's not just one and done.
right, right.
So you have to recertify every 3 years. So I just recertified yesterday. Again, if you guys go back to the Aaliyah Hub, there is a whole section on recertification. We've built a point breakdown guide for you guys to track your CEUs. You need, bye Celia. But you need 40 points basically, and 20 of those need to come from continuing education. Like I said, PCMA, MPI, Aaliyah, volunteering, speaking, writing a paper, writing a book. I mean, any of that stuff will go into that point breakdown guide. And I'll show you mine that I just turned in so you guys can see it. You do have to pay a fee. It starts at $300. And increases after 90 days of expiration. And then you can also recertify by taking the exam. I don't know why anybody would want to do that again because once is enough, but whatever. So all right, let me show you what the point breakdown guide looks like real quick. So this is what it looks like. It's real simple. It's gonna calculate your points. Here it all is. Oh, this is not mine. I was gonna show you mine. I'm gonna show you the example. Whatever.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. But everything is listed in here for you guys to look at and kind of see. But just know that just go out into the world and showcase the CSEP and showcase the fact that you're continuing your education. Like if you teach, or if you go to a conference, or if you do this, or if you do, all of this stuff counts towards the points of maintaining your CSEP and showcasing to us that you are still involved in continuing your own education for the CSEP. Does that make sense? Okay. That's all we're going to talk about it because it's real simple.
Yes. All right.
One
I
last slide.
one last slide. Yes. So this is our contact information. This is just takes this QR code takes you to the CSEP websites that we've been showing you. If anybody has any questions that we didn't cover and you just would like to have more personal conversation, we're open to that. We talk to people about CSEP all the time. We can help you maybe connect with study groups potentially. And we're really excited for you to join the club.
Come join us, please.
Yes. And I hope that this has been helpful. And I want to encourage you, like you're probably a lot more prepared to take the test than you realize. Especially if you've been doing events for 20 years and you really know your stuff and you understand the different perspectives and strategy and risk management and the things that really do set us apart as event professionals in the industry.
Yeah.
So one question I had, I saw on that page that they had practice tests.
Yes.
On those.
There is a practice test. I believe it costs $50 and it's 50 questions. And it pulls from the same test bank that the regular questions, that the regular exam pulls from. So that's a very, you have to pay the $50 and you have to sit down and do the test, but it gives you an idea of the types of questions to expect. And can perhaps give you the confidence, if you do well on that, to move forward with the full exam.
Okay. Is that something that it's online and once you take it, it kind of disappears, or is it something that you can I guess reference later as an additional study guide?
Yeah, you would only have access to it while you were
I think it's one and done. Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't ask the questions like our test, though, if I remember correctly. Did we change that?
What's your question?
I don't think it asks the questions like we ask the questions.
Well, it's from the same test bank.
Okay.
I don't know that there are any scenario questions in it.
Okay.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But it's supposed to be a practice test that aligns. Yes. We talked about perhaps doing adding CSEP as a silent auction package, because I don't know if you all know that this is a good time to plug the silent auction. There's a silent auction happening right now, and everything is on sale. We don't have a lot of bids. And one of the packages is ILEA membership, which as long as nobody bids you can get at a discount. I think the bids start at $250, and if you're the only one bidding, then you can get your membership discounted quite a bit. So yes, we didn't add CSEP. We talked about it. Part of the problem with it is that there are test expenses that also have to be covered with the test management system. But we will definitely, Rhonda, consider that for the next time we do a silent auction. I will say people are asking because it is a big investment. It's
It is a
definitely
big investment. Yeah.
It's great if you have an employer that will cover it or cover part of it, but I know my employer didn't. I had to save up my money.
Mine either. No,
Yeah.
mine either. I also did it for myself. So, because I wanted to showcase the fact that I knew what I was talking about. So,
Any other questions? I really do thank you all for joining us. I hope you have a great Memorial Day weekend.
stay
And
warm because I know some of us are freezing right now.
all right.
Yeah, can you put the
Text
slide
slide again.
contact? Yep, I was gonna actually put it in the chat for people before they jumped, but
Okay, sorry.
that's okay.
Oh, oh. That's not the slide. There we go.
All right, if you guys have any more questions, let us know. We are happy to answer anything.
All right.
Have a great day, guys. Thanks for joining.